We now go to the Ministry of Food Production. After food production, we go to Land and Marine Resources, and the final ministry is Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development. Ministry of Food Production.
The Standing Finance Committee has just completed the examination of Head 7, the Statutory Authority Service Commissions. A total of $6,554,200 has been added to the schedule under that head. Prior to that, the Service Commissions, that's Head 6, was examined.
Where's the minister? If he's not here, we'll take Land and Marine Resources.
He's somewhere. I saw him around. I saw him around, you know.
Is Devant here? All right, let's take the Ministry of come, Honourable Minister, come straight ahead whilst we await the arrival of. Let's deal with Land and Marine Resources, please. Oh, all right, okay, you'll have to hold on. The minister has arrived. Food production, please take your place at the head table. We were now about to take someone else, but you have arrived.
You moved a little fast.
Yes, thank you. Honorable members, the question is that well, first of all, Head 25, Ministry of Food Production, $665,851,000. I'll now invite the Honourable Minister of Food Production, if he wishes to make a brief opening statement as it relates to your priority areas within a period of less than 5 minutes. The Honourable Minister of Food Production.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the House. I'm pleased to have met with me today my Permanent Secretary and members of the technical staff with me this hour. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity for coming before the Finance Committee and really give you an idea in brief of the ministry's priority. As you know, the Ministry of Food Production was given the mandate in its National Food Action Plan to pursue increasing our food security in Trinidad and Tobago, reducing our food inflation and reducing our food import bill. In setting out to do this work, the ministry recognized the country was on a tightrope as far as food security was concerned, and if we did not take corrective and immediate action, we may have found ourselves as a nation in an unenviable position to have a robust economy based on oil and gas, but being unable to purchase food from the global market. Today, therefore, the Ministry of Food Production has outlined in our National Food Action Plan, we were more likely to grow food locally and make it available to our citizens in a safe, nutritious, and affordable manner in sufficient quantities so as to ensure the nation food and nutrition security and provide an attractive and profitable livelihood for all producers. The Ministry's Food Action Plan provided comprehensive strategies which allied with resources with national priorities and create the platform for the national government and private sector to venture into strategic partnerships, effectively mobilize and utilize the available land and marine resources, labor, human resources, and technology. It allows the stakeholders to actively participate in the development of the sector with the potential to extend into the national economic and social development. The growth of the sector was driven by a number of initiatives, including but not limited to the strengthening of the agriculture infrastructure across farming communities, unprecedented private sector initiatives, the ministry revamping its incentive program, the increase of access to land through the awards of leases and so on in collaboration with the sister Ministry of Land and Marine Affairs. And this resulted in several achievements, more notably with the reduction of food inflation. The ministry in this area, I think, achievement is historic in nature. Food inflation, as you know, Mr. Speaker, is calculated using the retail price index. Components of that index included food such as bread and cereals, meat, fish, milk, cheese, eggs, oils, fats, and so on. Additionally, non-alcoholic beverages such as coffee, tea, and so on is included in this food price index. Food inflation is very important to the agricultural sector, and in fact, headline inflation, a core component of it, is food inflation. So if food inflation is down, our headline inflation also follows. Mr. Chairman, food inflation in January 2014 measured 3.2%. For February 2014, it was 5.2%. For March, it was 6.7%, and for April, it was 4.1%, and for May, the figure measured at 3.8%. The recent figures for June 2014 put food inflation at 3.5%. This signified an unprecedented achievement for the Ministry of Food Production, as it marked for the first time in over 21 years in Trinidad and Tobago, food price inflation rate remained at single-digit figures for the first consecutive 6 months of the year. I could go on about what we are doing in food, but you get an idea.
Yes. Thank you very much. I think that you did a very good job.
Very good news.
Honourable members, the sum of $665,851,000 for head 25, the Ministry of Food Production, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of development program. Subhead 01, personnel expenditure. Item 1, general administration. I recognize the honourable member for Lebre.
I have 4 questions on the personal expenditure.
Yes.
Under 03, overtime for monthly paid.
What page is that?
Page 151.
Page 151. Yes.
All right. For 2013 was 604,000. It went down to 300,000 in 2014 when things look good. What we see for 2015, the estimate is 550,000. And it raises a few questions. What happened in 2014, right, when it was reduced by 50%? That cannot be replicated in 2015. That's my first question. All right? My second question has to do with number 6, remuneration to board members. From 3,716 2014, it went to 20,000, and then to 130,300. This raises a few questions. One, is it that the remuneration package for the board members went up? Or 2, we had an increase in the number of board members between 2013 and 2014. Could we get some clarification on that? And the same thing goes for under 14, remuneration members of cabinet appointed committees. Can you tell us, because we recognize here again 58,200 in 2013, it went to 195,000 in 2014, and we set estimate for 500,000, so it's rising all the time. Could you tell us the number of persons on that committee, or whether or not the remuneration package has increased over time in that scenario? And under 29, overtime for daily rated workers. In 2013, 1.6 million. 2014, 2.9. And it raises a question whether or not it may not be more prudent to increase the complement rather than pay overtime for the daily rated workers. So those are my 4 questions.
The Honourable Minister of Food Production.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. With regards to the first question, the overtime to the monthly paid officers, that is relation to the that is with the general admin is paying the overtime for most of the divisions that fall under the Ministry of Food Production in the various regions and so on. So that accounts for the increase in overtime there.
Yeah, but in 2014, it went under 300,000. So what we want to find out is what happened in 2014 that could not have been replicated in the other two time periods.
Well, what you had was the adjustment of salaries and so on there. This is an estimate, a 2015 estimate. If you look at the actual, it may not materialize to be 500,000. So the Ministry of Finance has allocated an estimated expenditure of 500,000. That doesn't mean that the ministry will actually spend 500,000.
Well,
And given the historical evidence before us, that we have spent 300,000 in 2014, we have spent 300,000 in 2013, it is more likely and conservative to estimate that in 2015, we will similarly spend $300,000. While, however, we are grateful that the Ministry of Finance has given us 500,000, that if the need arise, we can accommodate for overtime arrangements.
All right, you go on to the next question.
The next question regarding the
boards.
the board members. 06, well, there have been 2 new additional boards, the Cocoa and Coffee, the Cocoa Company of Trinidad and Tobago, Caroni Green. We have filled out the complement of all the boards that fell under our remit. So that may have taken up for the additional board members and additional costing. With the cabinet accounted committees, and those rates are, as well as the board members, are standard rates set by cabinet. So it's not that it would raise for one ministry and remain the same for some other ministry. What we have found is that there were several cabinet conceptualized committees, but were never implemented. We have so now implemented those committees, and these committees include the National Task Force for the Management of and Control of Zoonotic Diseases, which is a new committee, and this is to prevent the transfer of diseases from animals to human beings. Monitoring and Advisory Committee of Inshore Coastal, National Agricultural Advisory Commission, Committee under the purview of the NAAC Commission, the World Food Day Committee. Those are the committees that fall there. The government, the daily rated workers, 29, the overtime rates. Again, that is another estimated position of 2.9.
Okay. We will now go to item 2, agriculture. I recognize Member Vazananzis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Minister, under the agriculture, I know a lot of focus in our country is on agriculture, but I see a big reduction in the estimates of 17 million.
Which one? Oh, is that?
Page 152, we are on 002, agriculture, and it's sub-item 02, wages.
Yes.
Right? There's a big reduction of 17 million. You know, so in my mind, when thinking the focus should be on agriculture, we see a big reduction here. Is it a reduction of staff or
No,
what?
that is a function of the new collective agreement.
So they're getting less salary?
Well,
17 million less?
And remember too, that there has been a reassignment of staff from this ministry to the Ministry of Land and Marine Affairs. So that ministry was taking some of the staff, fisheries and so on, land administration.
Okay.
All right, I recognize the member for Laventille West.
To the Minister, earlier on we were told that URP was divided up into 3.
Yes.
One part of it would have been under agriculture. Can
Sure.
you say whether 02, all right, if the wages and cost of living allowances that is placed there takes up the wages of
No,
that?
let me clarify. In terms of the splitting of the URP was divided between Ministry of the People, Ministry of Food Production, and Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Our function has been to identify projects to be done under the URP project. The administration, procurement, and payment of staff falls under the administrating agency, which is the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure.
So am I hearing that the Ministry of Agriculture is not responsible for making any payment to
None at all.
All right.
All we do is identify projects.
All right, we go to item 4, animal production and health. Item 10, horticulture. Subhead 02, Goods and Services. Item 1, General Administration, the Honourable Member for Libre.
Traveling and subsistence, we had 2013, 2.8 million, 2014, 3, and 2015, 4 million. Could we get some explanation as to whether or not there's a policy for traveling and subsistence? What's the policy they use for traveling and subsistence?
That is set by the terms and conditions by the Public Service Commission and the Statutory Authority Service Commission, not by the ministry itself. So whatever applies to all ministries across the board applies to this ministry.
But in terms of who gets traveling and when?
So that is when the post is classified. It is determined to be if it's a traveling post or not. There are cases when officers put up arguments that their post should be made a traveling position, and they would have to go through a process in which they would claim under Regulation 16, and after a year or so on, justify their claim.
All right. All right, we are going now to item 2.
No, Mr. Speaker, I still have another question again.
Yes,
It has to do with contract employment.
yes.
Where is he now?
That is 16,
Yes.
and they said 154, 9.8 in 2013, and we see in 2014 the revised estimate of 21,000 and the estimated 24,000. All right. Isn't there a case for more permanent staff?
No, but this jump here really is to take into consideration the establishment of the Predial Lasny unit of the Ministry of Food Production, which constitutes a large part, not all, but in large part, about over 75% of this figure here. As you know, there was an attempt to introduce a Predial Lasny unit under the last administration, which failed abysmally. We have introduced the Predial Lasny unit, and it has been working, and we have, in fact, have called some various sections of the national community, farming communities and so on, to have that Predial Lasny unit go into those different areas. So this year is really to provision that squad to prevent Predial Lasny from happening in our farming community.
What's the size of that Predial Lasny squad now?
About 101 persons right now. Yes, yeah.
And submit?
Yes, we have an organizational structure. They would like to...
Yeah, you can submit it. We go to item 4, Animal Production and Health. Item 10, Horticulture. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases. Item 1, General Administration. Item 2, Agriculture. Item 4, Animal Production and Health. Item 10, Horticulture. Subhead 04, Current Transfer. No, listen, follow. I am on subhead 04, Current Transfer and subsidies. Under that, I'm doing item 2, Commonwealth Bodies. Then I go to item 3, United Nations Organization. We go to item 5, non-profit institutions. Item 7, households. Item 8, subsidies. I recognize Aruka Maloney, Member of Parliament.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sub-item 06, Agricultural Incentive Program. Could the Minister tell us exactly why there is an 11 million, that's page 163.
163? Yes.
Could the Minister indicate why there is an $11 million decrease in the subsidy for this particular program? That's one. The number of beneficiaries of this incentive program to date, and isn't this incentive programs a measure of impacting on the amount of money that is spent on the food import bill? Isn't it supposed to create some measure of impact and reduce our food import bill?
The Honourable Minister
Yes.
of Food Production.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As to why of the reduction is made, I think that the question really is better suited for the Ministry of Finance. We would have put in an application for as much as we would have liked to have gotten in the ministry, as other ministries would have. We have liked to get a lot more money than we have. The Ministry of Finance has assigned us this figure and allocated this. As to the numbers,
Yes.
which is the second question, last year we processed 2,975 incentives in Region North for the sum of $19,727,426.46. In Region South, we processed 2,210 applications for the value of $10,091,057.63. As to its impact into the agricultural program and the food import bill, everything we do at the Ministry of Food Production is geared at reducing our food import bill, and as such, it is hard to quantify one or the other, because this program, the incentive program, really is to add an incentive and provide some sort of relief of financial support to farmers when they buy equipment and so on, so that they get some taxation off and the like.
All right, honorable members, we go to item
Mr.
8,
Chair, Mr.
subsidies. Yes,
Yes, Mr.
honorable
Chair,
member.
under sub-item 07, I
Yes.
would like to find out the number of beneficiaries for the relief of flood damage.
I will provide that to the farm.
The honorable minister will provide that in writing. We go to item 9, other transfers. Item 10, other transfers abroad. Subhead 06, current,
Yes, may I ask a question under subhead 06? Current transfers to statutory boards?
Yes, of
Please?
course.
Thank you. Subhead 06, sub 08, Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago. Minister, was the sum of $5.1 million for 2013 paid?
No.
Any reason why, sir?
Yes, the election as conducted has been challenged in the courts of Trinidad and Tobago by persons who felt that the elections were less than fair. The ministry's report indicated as such, and the matter is before the courts at this point in time.
So the 2014 estimates of $4.7 million and the revised estimate, because you see, the Agricultural Society, as far as I know, is supposed to be the flagship for agricultural development and to really drive the agricultural diversification away from sugar. What is the ministry doing as far as helping them to overcome their problems instead of just withholding the funds?
Well, I think, Mr. Speaker, through you, your premise is wrong.
Okay.
That the Agricultural Society is supposed to help farmers away from the dependency on sugar, because the composition of the Agricultural Society is 24 members, of which 8 comes from the sugar industry, 8 comes from the coffee industry, 8 comes from the cocoa industry. It is a function of an act which is close to over 100 years old, really to reinforce the plantocracy of the colonial society of the day.
Sorry. Could you just repeat that? You are saying the Agricultural Society is to reinforce the agricultural plantocracy?
The colonial plantocracy of the day, because it is an act of the 1900s.
Okay.
Right? As such, it has never kept in step with the modernization of the agricultural sector in Trinidad and Tobago.
So you are saying that they are outdated?
They are outdated by no stretch of the imagination. They are outdated, and they have never driven the sector in the last 4 years. It is the Ministry of Food Production that has taken the lead in driving the sector.
But the allocation for 2015 of 4.827 million, so that will be held in abeyance again.
Well, our recommendation to the Ministry of Finance was to have a substantially less figure than this.
What figure does the Agricultural Society need to conduct their affairs?
Well, that is something which is subject of our court matter right now, and I would not like to go in much further.
All right.
Okay. Could I?
Yes, one final question, Member
Yes.
St. Joseph, and then we go to Lebre.
Thank you.
And Aruka Maloney.
Sub 10, Cocoa and Coffee Industry Board. I think that has been replaced by the Cocoa Board, I believe.
The Cocoa Company.
Cocoa Company, thank you. Could you tell me who are the members of that company?
I know the chairman names offhand, Mr. Brandon Khan. I could provide a list of...
Mr. Brandon Khan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, then I'll recognize Lebre and then the honorable member for Aruka Maloney.
Okay, number 9, NAMDEFCO. From 34.6 million 2013, and 2014 we have 45.5 million. My question is, when was the last audited statement received from NAMDEFCO?
The Honourable Minister. of Food
Mr.
Production.
Speaker, if I'm not mistaken, I lead in the Parliament the latest audited figure from NAMDEFCO. The Parliament could check the date.
Well, you can't remember the date.
I can't remember it offhand, sorry.
He said, the Honourable Minister said the report was late, but he can't remember the date. But he will certainly. What is the question you have, Honourable Member?
I have the last audited figure, 2011,
Okay.
2011.
and we laid that in the Parliament.
Because really and truly my question was premised on the basis that if, in fact, that we had a lot of audit statements outstanding, then there may not be any justification in giving them allocation in 2015. But we will and see.
Mr.
All right. Let us go to Aruka Maloney.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, sub-item 08.
Yes.
I'd like to find out from the minister whether or not they have done an audit on the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago. And if they have not, if they intend to do so in the near future.
Have you done an audit
The
on the agriculture?
the Ministry of Food Production have done an audit on the mill.
Yes, an audit has been done.
And one other thing, Mr. Chair, sub-item 09, with reference to the national, well, NAMDEFCO. There had been reports of the officials, they are not following procurement procedures. What measures have been put in place to ensure that those procedures are followed?
The Honourable Minister of Food Production. Is that that's an allegation or that's a fact?
Mr. Speaker, I am not aware of any allegation by the any persons that NAMDEFCO follows any other procedure other than what is prescribed by the Ministry of Finance.
All right, we go to subhead 09, Development Program, item 2, Productive Sectors, item 3, Economic Infrastructure, item 4, Social Infrastructure. I recognize the Honourable Member for Laventille West.
Chair, I'm on page 76. I'm looking at 276, Development of Fishing Centers. I'm seeing in 2013, $1.9 million being spent. But 2014 and 2015.
That is under what heading?
What heading?
Which sub-item? Because I'm under Social Infrastructure. Which one are you under?
Social?
Oh, that's because, Mr. Speaker, that is because it has been moved to the Ministry of Land and Marine Affairs.
Okay.
So when my colleague comes after me, you could ask him.
Okay, item 5, Multi-Sectorial and Other Services, Infrastructure Development Fund. Honourable members, the question is that a sum of $665,851,000 for head 25.
Some clarification on what the minister just said, because these allocations appear under food production still. Is it that the Minister of Land and Marine Resources will be prepared to answer questions on the allocations here, these sub-items, once it's associated with fisheries that has been transferred? I just want to be clear on that. Because if not,
Which sub-item? You want to tell us which sub-items you're referring to?
well, he just said anything under fisheries, the fisheries division. So I will give you some examples. 508.
Is it any item, just hold a second. Honourable
Under the
Minister, is it
development
any
program.
item under fisheries?
All marine fisheries fall under the Ministry of Land and Marine Affairs. On land fisheries, which is aquaculture, such as tilapia and so on, fall under the Ministry of Food
No,
Production.
I'm referring to marine fisheries. So I just
Right.
want to
Marine fisheries
clear
and-
whether that minister will be prepared to answer questions, even though it does not.
Well,
it's
the
not
minister is
listed
not
under
here
the-
as yet,
Yeah,
but I'm sure that when he comes, you'll bring those matters to his attention. Okay? Honourable members, a
Well,
question.
Speaker, it's not a matter of bringing it to his attention. I want to be clear, otherwise I will ask them no.
Well, it is not before us because.
It is before us.
No, I am saying that the Honourable Minister has said, even though it is before us, he is claiming that those matters have now been transferred to the Honourable Minister of Land and Marine Affairs.
Right.
So we are saying that when he comes here, he should be in a position to deal with those matters.
I'm just saying in the manner in which you have been approaching the task, when you call the head, subheads, ministries, this will not arise. So it will take a specific decision of the committee to cover these items then.
May I ask the minister whether in the 2015 estimates any provision was made for marine fisheries? On the, I'm talking about the Honourable Minister of Marine.
Yes, Chairman.
All right, so then we will deal with that when it comes. Okay? So you're correct. So you can hold your fire. The honourable members, the question is that a sum of $665,851,000 for Head 25, the Ministry of Food Production, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $665,851,000 for Head 25, the Ministry of Food Production, now stands part of the schedule. Honourable Minister of Food Production, we'd like to thank you very much for gracing us with your presence at the Standing Finance Committee and your team. Thank you very much.
Speaker and members.
Thank you.